The werewolf have captivated imaginations for centuries, weaving a tapestry of fear, fascination, and folklore that transcends cultures and eras. Often depicted as humans, who transform into ferocious wolves during the full moon, werewolves represent both the animalistic nature within humans and the fear of the unknown. The origins of werewolf myths in ancient cultures. Shapeshifting is a theme that spans the history of human civilization, appearing in many cultures that depict beings capable of transforming into animals. Early references to werewolves can be found in ancient Mesopotamia, specifically in the Epic of Gilgamesh, where a character undergoes a transformation into a wolf. In Greek mythology, Lycan, a king who disrespected Zeus, was punished by being turned into a wolf, providing another early instance of the werewolf archetype. Norse mythology also contributes to the early werewolf lore, with stories of the berserkers, warriors, who wore wolf pelts to channel the strength and ferocity of wolves in battle. These legends emphasize themes of transformation and the melding of human and animal characteristics, serving as precursors to more elaborate werewolf myths in later periods. Ancient cultures often use these stories to illustrate the duality of human nature and the consequences of straying from societal norms. The recurring motif of punishment for transgression, whether by divine beings or curses, highlights the moral undertones that would continue to shape werewolf legends through the ages. These early narratives laid the groundwork for the more complex and terrifying werewolf stories that would emerge in medieval Europe and beyond. During the medieval period, the werewolf emerged as a central figure in European folklore, especially in France, Germany, and the British Isles. This era saw numerous werewolf trials, akin to the infamous witch hunts, where individuals accused of lycanthropy faced severe and often brutal punishment. The Beast of Gévaudan, a creature responsible for a series of attacks in the 1760s, fueled widespread panic and speculation, with many believing it to be a werewolf. Another notorious case was that of Peter Stump, the so-called werewolf of Bedburg, who was executed in 1589 for alleged werewolf-related crimes. These stories highlight the intense fear and superstition surrounding the werewolf myth, reflecting societal anxieties about the unknown and the other. Medieval werewolf legends often depicted these creatures as embodiments of chaos and savagery, representing the dangers lurking beyond the bounds of civilization. The fear of werewolves was not just about physical transformation, but also about moral and social corruption. Such tales served as cautionary narratives, warning against the perils of losing one's humanity and straying from the norms of society. This period solidified the werewolf's place in European cultural consciousness, laying the groundwork for its enduring legacy in folklore and literature. Transformation rituals and curses play a crucial role in werewolf lore, often dictating how and why individuals undergo the terrifying metamorphosis into wolves. In many legends, the transformation is involuntary and occurs due to a curse. These curses are frequently depicted as divine retribution or the result of malevolent magic, imposed as punishment for moral transgressions or other sins. For example, a person might be cursed to transform into a werewolf as a result of angering a powerful witch or a deity. In other variations, the transformation can be voluntary, achieved through specific rituals. Wearing a wolf's pelt or drinking a special potion are common methods depicted in folklore. In some traditions, applying an ointment made from mysterious ingredients is said to trigger the change. These rituals often involve a pact with dark forces, or the use of forbidden knowledge, emphasizing the peril of meddling with powers beyond human understanding. The full moon is another recurring element in werewolf transformation stories, symbolizing the uncontrollable and cyclical nature of the change. This lunar association underscores the link between werewolves and the natural world, highlighting the themes of primal instincts and the thin veneer of civilization that can be easily disrupted by ancient, uncontrollable forces. Werewolves have captivated the literary world, symbolizing the complex interplay between human and beastly instincts. In the 19th century, J.K. Huysmans and Guy de Maupassant delved into the dark corners of human nature through werewolf tales. However, Clemens Huysmans, the werewolf, cemented the creature's role in Gothic literature, portraying it as both a tragic and terrifying figure. In the realm of cinema, The Wolf Man set the standard for werewolf portrayals, blending horror with psychological depth. This film, along with subsequent adaptations, has influenced countless depictions in horror and fantasy genres. Modern series like Teen Wolf and The Originals offer a more nuanced approach, exploring themes of identity, acceptance, and the duality of human nature. Werewolves have also made their mark in popular culture through various media. The Twilight Saga redefined them as protectors, emphasizing their struggle with dual identities. Video games such as The Witcher series allow players to navigate the moral complexities of lycanthropy, reflecting the evolution of werewolf myths from mere monsters to multifaceted characters. This enduring fascination with werewolves highlights their versatility as symbols, capable of embodying a wide range of themes, from fear and horror to empathy and self-discovery. Werewolf myths delve deeply into the human psyche, revealing our perpetual struggle between civilized behavior and primal instincts. Psychologically, the werewolf represents repressed desires and forbidden urges, embodying the fear of losing control over one's darker nature. This dichotomy highlights the tension between societal expectations and individual impulses, serving as a metaphor for the internal conflict many experience. Societally, werewolf stories have long functioned as moral commentaries. During periods of social unrest, these tales often reflect anxieties about the breakdown of social order and the consequences of moral transgressions. Werewolves, frequently depicted as ordinary individuals cursed to transform into beasts, underscore the idea that anyone can succumb to their baser instincts if they stray from societal norms. This transformation is not just physical but also moral, illustrating the potential for anyone to become a monster under the right conditions. The cyclical nature of werewolf transformations, often tied to the lunar cycle, further emphasizes themes of inevitability and the inescapable pull of one's inherent nature. By exploring these themes, werewolf myths allow audiences to confront their own fears about identity, self-control, and the boundaries between humanity and savagery, making the legend a powerful tool for both psychological and societal reflection. The evolution of werewolf depictions in art. Werewolves have held a prominent place in art, evolving significantly from medieval to modern times. During the medieval era, werewolves appeared in illuminated manuscripts and woodcuts, often depicted as monstrous beings meant to invoke fear and caution. These early representations were closely tied to religious and moral narratives, emphasizing the consequences of straying from societal norms. As art movements progressed, the portrayal of werewolves began to shift. The Romantic period saw a more nuanced approach, with artists exploring the tragic and human aspects of lycanthropy. Paintings and illustrations from this era often focused on the inner turmoil and transformation of the werewolf, reflecting broader themes of existential struggle and the duality of human nature. In contemporary art, werewolves are frequently depicted with empathy and complexity. Modern artists use the werewolf as a symbol for various personal and societal issues, such as identity crises, mental health struggles, and the conflict between civilization and primal instincts. These portrayals challenge the traditional monster narrative, presenting werewolves as multifaceted characters capable of evoking both fear and sympathy. This evolution in art mirrors the broader cultural shift in how werewolves are understood, highlighting their enduring relevance as powerful symbols in human storytelling. From films to TV series and video games, werewolves have taken on a diverse array of roles, reflecting the complexities of modern storytelling. Contemporary portrayals often delve into the internal conflicts faced by these characters, emphasizing their struggles with identity and control. This shift is evident in popular TV shows like Teen Wolf, which explores themes of adolescence and the balance between human and supernatural elements. Movies like Underworld present werewolves within broader mythological universes, portraying them as warriors engaged in ancient feuds, thus adding layers of depth to their characterization. The werewolf's evolution in media also extends to literature, with authors using the creature to tackle themes of duality and transformation. Novels such as The Last Werewolf by Glenn Duncan blend horror with existential questions, pushing the boundaries of traditional werewolf lore. This multifaceted approach has allowed werewolves to remain relevant, continuously reinvented to mirror contemporary societal and psychological issues. In this way, modern media continues to expand the werewolf mythos, presenting these creatures as symbols of complex human emotions and conflicts.